Now if you saw me walking down the road, first of all you'd probably think, what the bloody hell? Then you'd think, this man's got all the staples of a late Victorian wardrobe. He's got the three-piece suit, he's got the stiff collar, he's got a cap, he's got some sort of weird eyewear, he's got a nice tie, and you might even be forgiven for thinking that I'm wearing a shirt. Which I'm not. Why? I don't know. Stay tuned to find out. So I just want to say before I get any nitpicks, I don't know if people are going to nitpick, but I know that this waistcoat isn't a part of this three-piece suit. It's completely different black, it's a completely different era. But look, the waistcoat that is actually a part of this three-piece suit is heavily scalloped, right? And it just wouldn't have worked with the video that I'm trying to show you. But it's for the video, it's for the piece. Okay, so what do I mean that I'm not wearing a shirt? Well, the thing with the Victorians is they like to fake everything. This monocle is meant to be tortoiseshell, it's actually celluloid. Even my tie has a buckle on the back and it's completely fake. So back to the shirt. It looks like I'm wearing a shirt, right? You can see my collar here, you can see my cuffs, you can even see the shirt itself right here. But if I take off my jacket, you can now start to see the illusion is becoming destroyed. Gently place the antique jacket over, off camera. Right, so even here I look pretty ridiculous. You can see I'm wearing short-sleeved t-shirt, I've got cuffs attached, but it still looks like I'm kind of wearing a shirt, right? Kinda, doesn't it? Well, if I undo my waistcoat, it could be a short-sleeved shirt. You're right, sir, in the back. But I assure you that it's not. If I undo my waistcoat, you can see the illusion is completely destroyed now. So, what's going on here? I've got this bib, this front piece. Now it's pleated. You might, if you were in a vintage shop and you saw this, you might walk past it and think, oh, it's just another piece of evening wear. Evening wear, although I like vintage, is completely outdated. I'll never use it. I won't buy it. But actually, starched and pleated bibs were used in day wear for quite some time, actually, up until maybe even the 1920s. There are still examples of pleated, starched, stiff bibs. So, what's going on here? If I take off my fake tie, my 1890s tie, this is an original, so these are what the ties look like. So, that's off. You may remember that the back of the collar is meant to be threaded through into the shirt, so it does have a stud at the back, but this one isn't. It's just kind of freestanding. Now, I'm wearing a t-shirt. This is not historically accurate undergarments. I'm finding it hard to find historically accurate undergarments that aren't genuinely antique and used and disgusting, and I don't want to wear that, so I'm wearing just a normal t-shirt. So how is this thing applied? So as you can see, I'm wearing fishtail trousers. They go quite far up the back, and I'm wearing braces to hold them up. There's no belt loops, just braces. They say that every good trouser should hang from the shoulders. So as you can see, the braces are going through these loops here, which is holding it tight to my body. So they just unthread through there. So now that they're released, you can see these are just tabs that were just, my braces were holding down, and they're no longer attached to my trousers, which is an issue because trousers could fall down. The next thing is that it is actually attached to my collar here. So I'm only using one stud because at the back, the collar's not being held on by anything. So once I take this collar off, you'll see it will just kind of, it should just flop down. Oh, it's attached to my monocle string. Here we go. So you can see it comes down, and the final thing it's attached to here is my trousers. We're going to have to come uncomfortably close for this. So you can see it's just kind of buttoned through. So these trousers use a hook and eye. So there's the eye, and the hook is just on the other side there. So sometimes that can be a button, sometimes it can be a hook and an eye. And there's the whole piece as it is. So as you can see, it's just a bib. There's no opening, it's one flat piece. It's a starched pleated front with buttons just sewn on. There is no placket, there's just an illusion of a placket within all these many pleats. Now this one is in actually okay condition. I got this one from France. There's some staining, some blue dots. This is where the starch has become wet and has turned brown. But yeah, that's basically it. So you'd wear this front, you'd have your collar on, you'd have your tie on, and then you would attach these cuffs, which are literally just cuff linked on and free moving. That's just how they are. And because they're tight, it looks so ridiculous, hold on. I don't even know if that worked, that probably looked really bad because I wasn't prepared for that. I actually just got redressed. I should have filmed this part first, then taken everything off. But I'm not forward thinking like that, I suppose. So why would a Victorian man, an Edwardian man, even a man into the 1920s, want to wear a fake shirt? Well, first of all, I'd say the heat. These suits are quite heavy. Not wearing a shirt would be very beneficial to the fact that my arms feel very light. They feel very cool. I've just got the sort of the lining touching my arms, and there would probably be a breeze going through. It takes an extra layer away. So with some of these shirts, you'd actually have the shirt and then you'd have a starched bib sewn in, or you'd have a thicker bib sewn in. So it takes away one of those layers. So in the summer, it's really nice. When I went to Japan, I wore this kind of thing in the summer. So it was really hot. I was wearing a cotton suit and I was wearing this bib, a collar and some cuffs. And it was way, way cooler than when I was wearing like a linen shirt, just because it got rid of that extra layer. The second thing I would say is laundry for sure. So laundry is very expensive, very time consuming. It took most part of the week. You had to hand wash everything, and not a lot of people could afford to do that or wanted to spend time doing that. And with these, they don't really get sweated on, so the underwear would absorb a lot of that. Now, when you're wearing the actual historically accurate underwear, or from the period, the collars are quite high and there's like a button system, so it would keep all the sweat in. Unfortunately, I'm wearing a t-shirt, so it's kind of wide and gaping and it's not really doing its job. But that would absorb all of the sweat. And then this starched piece, the starch kind of, from the back, you could kind of just wick away the moisture as long as it hasn't soaked into the starch and ruined it. The third point would probably be convenience. You have to remember the Victorian people changed clothing about 6 times a day, which is excessive. But I imagine it's a lot easier when you can literally just pop off a shirt and pop another shirt on, rather than undoing everything, taking the shirt off, changing the shirt. A fourth reason could actually be the expense. So buying a new shirt all the time, that's expensive, that's a lot of fabric. And you'd have to get that made. Whereas if you get these, they're kind of like a one-size-fits-all. You could get any collar on here, any sized guy could wear one of these. And you could have so many shirts. You could literally have like 10 different shirts without even owning a full shirt. You just have the front, and the cuffs and the collar, they can be washed, re-laundered, and you can wear them with whatever you want. You can change pretty much everything. Everything is customizable, and you can wear loads of different colors, loads of different objects. I could wear the same shirt with 15 different collars. So I had one of these shirts. I wasn't too sure if I should wear it, how I should wear it. And then I came across this photo album of, and it was a gentleman who had been making prosthetic arms and legs for people in the Victorian era from, I think, around 1860 to the 1910s. Those photos were taken for scientific reference, and they showed how the prosthetics were attached and other appendages were added to the body. But what was interesting for me was that you could actually see images of Victorian people in their underwear. So you could kind of see how their shirts were made up, how their underwear looked, and that was really interesting. And so I started to wear my one a lot more, because I kind of figured out, oh, that's how you wear that. I still need to get the original one, the genuine style underwear, so that I can wear it properly. But actually, it's not a bad style. I don't feel like I'm not wearing a shirt. And you could even do it without wearing the cuffs. You could just wear this shirt. Or if you wanted to do a modern interpretation, you could literally just take the pattern with the tabs, and keep a fixed collar on and just take that on and off in the summer. But you can see these in Edwardian films, so you can see these in like 1910s films. There's a film that I'll try and find the clip of Charlie Chaplin. He takes his jacket off and he reveals that he's not wearing an actual shirt. I think there's a Laurel and Hardy one, possibly a Buster Keaton one. There's loads out there where they do it, because obviously this is kind of a novelty. You wouldn't want somebody to know you were wearing one of these. You would just want to look presentable. You'd want to look like you were wearing a shirt. So Chaplin whipping off his jacket and showing that he's just wearing a t-shirt. I can imagine the audience loved that.
Hello, it's me from the future. The video that you're currently watching was filmed almost a year ago now from this day. I never uploaded the video. I'm not quite sure why I never uploaded it. But I've got a few more bibs in my collection now, and I've been using them a lot, and I think they're actually quite good. So I've decided to upload the video again, and I thought I would show you these new ones in my collection whilst I'm re-editing the video. So if you remember initially, I was talking about this one here. This was the only one I had. It's a starched one, pleated front with these two tabs. This one's probably Edwardian, probably 1910s. Then we look at these ones here, and there's a purple one on this side as well. Now these ones are a little bit older. These ones are probably 1890s. It's hard to tell because there's no dating, but judging by the style of the fabric, I'd say a good guess would be 1890s. You can see these ones don't actually feature buttons, but they have buttonholes, so you can put your own studs into these. Now you may notice these ones do not have the tabs that the Our Happy Edwardian one has here. And the reason for this is probably because waistcoats were a lot higher in this era, so there's no real reason to need to secure them there when the waistcoat comes down like this. There is a slight misconception in vintage menswear that pleats are only for evening, and that the pleats came in, I don't know, around the 50s or the 60s is what people usually think. But no, pleats have been here for a very long time indeed. And as you can see, these pleats, and they are pleats, are made for day wear. So that's that. I have another bib here. Now this one is actually modern, and it's commission made by my friend. He's a very good tailor, and he always gets annoyed when I pronounce his name wrong. Michiel de Berdemecker, I don't know how to say it. I'm so sorry, old boy. But he gave me permission to say, his name, and that he makes these kinds of commissions. So he has original patterns, original garments that he makes these from. So here you can see, really nice blue and red check. When we turn it over, we have a more exciting, tiny check, which makes a sort of salmon-looking front piece. Now, I'm interested in getting more colour into my wardrobe recently, so this is fantastic. Now, one thing I did ask him to add, which you don't see on the extant garments, is this extra collar band that goes all the way around here. Now, I've never found one that looks like this, but I'm sure there are some out there. But I asked him to do this because I found that when I was wearing these, my collar would often slip up the back, and I thought if it just had this extra bit of resistance, it wouldn't slip up all the time, and that's working quite well. If you look at some of the historical photos, you can see that the collar isn't actually secured to anything. It's not secured to the undergarments. It's not secured to the bib at all. So having that empty space between jacket and collar is perfectly fine. And actually it's quite cooling. Cooling, interestingly enough, in the video, you probably just heard me say that when I went to Japan, I was wearing one of these. Funnily enough, I now live in Japan, and I have been wearing these. It's not quite that hot at the minute, but it's going to get much hotter soon. So I will definitely be making use of these wonderful bibs that I have in my collection. Now, I'm sure she won't mind me showing you, but interestingly enough, here's a modern version of one of these bibs. This is my girlfriend's bib front, as it were. And as you can see, it's kind of as I suggested in the video, where it's a modern shirt with a collar that's sewn in. This is a lady's blouse, obviously. But again, it's the same principle as these antique bibs. Interestingly enough, still being used today. Slightly different. In this case, there's a collar. We have a back piece so that your neck isn't on show. And there are these small under-the-arm straps so that it doesn't rise up. But it's very interesting. So this is still being used.
So yeah, that's all I wanted to say on how Victorian men faked wearing shirts. Hope this was interesting and entertaining. It's my first video. I don't have any lighting. I don't have a good camera set up. My phone is sellotaped to a tripod. And I hope you can even see what I'm wearing here. So today I'm wearing a 1907 black suit from Germany. It has 3 front buttons that are all ebonized wood. It has a very harsh cutaway. The cuffs also have 2 buttons, and it has a sewn cuff here. It has 3 pockets. It has a ticket pocket here, and it has 2 flap pockets, as well as a top breast pocket up here. So the waistcoat, as I said, is not actually part of this set. This is a 1910s waistcoat, 4 pockets on the front here. And the trousers I'm wearing are from the same 1907 suit. You can see they've got a high fishtail waist up the back here. They've got a buckle here. This is called a cinch belt or a cinch waist. There's 6 buttons all around. These are like, they kind of look like poppers. These are metal buttons that are stuck on here. It's a button fly with an eye and a hook. It has what we call frog pockets. So they come down at an angle like this. I really hope you can see this. They come down at an angle like that, and they have a bit of a lip here. The lining of this is a lovely striped red. So I made this first video as a kind of test to see if there's anybody out there who's interested in sort of late Victorian, Edwardian clothing, and see if I could sort of get a YouTube channel going where I can show you some of my collection or tell you some of the things that I've learned whilst collecting. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, like, comment and let me know if you want to see any of my hats, canes, suits, eyewear, pocket watches, chains. I've got all kinds of antique stuff. So let me know if you want to see any of that. Obviously subscribe if you want more, like the video, and comment down below if you have any suggestions for future videos. And thanks for watching my first video. I hope you found it interesting. And I don't have a catchphrase yet. So end of video. Done.